Happy Friday, Eagles! I hope you had a great week and a great weekend celebrating Easter and the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. I wanted to conclude this week talking about Genesis chapter 50, which is the end of Joseph's life. And this past week, we studied what has happened to Joseph. We've seen that he was abandoned, we've seen him be betrayed, forgotten, promises not kept. He was sold into slavery. He was accused. So many things happened to Joseph. However, all of these things, even though they were awful, like God used them for good. And I'm going to be in Genesis chapter 50, verse 19 through 21. In verse 19, it says, "But Joseph said to them, 'Do not be afraid, for am I in God's place? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good in order to bring about this present result to preserve many people alive. So therefore, do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones.'" So rather than lashing out in anger, which I'm pretty sure I feel like I would have done, he spoke truth. He spoke God's truth. He was compassionate. He was kind to them. And God transformed the evil plan that Joseph's brothers had and transformed it to good. Because as we see, God used Joseph to save the people from famine. And God can use people's sin for his own glory and the ultimate good for humankind. Now, if we fast forward to the New Testament and we take a look at Jesus' life, we can see a lot of similarities between Jesus and Joseph. And just like Joseph, Jesus was abandoned, he was accused, he was betrayed by people he walked daily with, and he was sold, and he was even forgotten. Men persecuted, and they hung Jesus on the cross. But this was God's plan for salvation. For the salvation, not just for me, but for the world. Like, this was his ultimate plan. For we know by faith that 3 days later, Jesus rose from the grave. Like, that was God's plan this entire time. And that even though all of these bad things happened to Jesus, he rose from the dead in salvation, and we are able to have that personal relationship with Christ. And Paul said in Romans 8:28, he said, "And we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose." Everything in life is not by surprise by God. God knows what's happening in your life. God knows what's happening in my life. And regardless of whatever happens, he is using it and will use it. If he will, I can have testimony to that, but is using it to bring glory to himself and good to not just believers, but to unbelievers, so that they can see the testimony in your life and in my life. And even in this time of uncertainty, God is working for our good. Look at how many churches are able to be online, how many people are being reached outside of a church building. It's just amazing. But my prayer for you this weekend, and as you're about to start another week next week, is that may you trust his plan and look for ways that he is bringing good, regardless of whatever's happening in your life today, in the past, and even future events that happen in your life. Look and see how God is going to use it for good. I love you, Eagles.